I never imagined that the hardest thing I'd ever have to do was to stop pretending. Pretending came easy to me. I did it so well that sometimes I even fooled myself. I wore smiles that didn't belong to me, laughed at jokes that didn't land in my heart, and agreed with opinions that scraped against my soul. But people liked me that way. I blended in, I kept the peace, and I never drew too much attention. I told myself that was enough. For years, it was. Until one night, standing in front of my own bathroom mirror, I caught a glimpse of myself under the harsh light, and I couldn't recognize the man staring back. His eyes looked tired, empty, like the life had been drained out of him drop by drop. That's when I realized that hiding who you are doesn't protect you, it erases you. I grew up in a small town where everyone seemed to have a place carved out for them before they could even walk. My father wanted a son who was tough, athletic, someone who would carry his name with pride. My mother wanted someone polite, dependable, the kind of man who'd grow up to hold a respectable job and start a family close to home. My classmates wanted someone funny, easygoing, the kind of guy who would go along with whatever the group decided. And I just wanted to be accepted. So I tried to be all of it. The strong son, the good student, the agreeable friend. I wore masks so often that eventually I forgot there was a face underneath. It wasn't that I was miserable all the time. There were moments of joy, laughter, even connection. But every single one of those moments had a shadow, a voice whispering, if they really knew you, they wouldn't stay. That voice was my constant companion. It kept me silent when I wanted to speak. It made me smile when I wanted to cry. It told me that the real me was too much, or maybe not enough, and so I buried him deeper until he was barely a memory. Years passed that way. I got a decent job in the city, something safe and predictable. I shook hands, made small talk, played my role in the machine. I even had friends, people who thought they knew me well. But when I was alone in my apartment at night, the silence pressed against my chest so heavily I could barely breathe. I'd stare at the ceiling and wonder, what would happen if I stopped pretending? Would anyone stay? Would anyone care? Or would I vanish completely? The breaking point came on a day that seemed ordinary at first. I was walking home from work, my head filled with the usual fog, when I passed a street musician playing the violin. The music stopped me cold. It was raw, aching, beautiful in a way that seemed almost out of place in the busy street. And what struck me wasn't just the sound, but the expression on the musician's face. He wasn't playing for the crowd. He wasn't performing to please anyone. He was lost in it, fully himself, pouring everything he was into each note. People walked past him, some dropped coins, some didn't even look, but he didn't seem to care. He wasn't hiding. He wasn't bending. He was just being. I stood there longer than I should have, frozen in place, and when I finally walked away, I felt shaken. That night, staring at myself in the mirror again, I realized I had no idea who I really was anymore. I had traded myself away piece by piece until all that was left was a shell. And for the first time, I felt the weight of that loss in a way I couldn't ignore. The next morning, instead of going to work, I called in sick. I spent the entire day in silence. No TV, no distractions, just me and my thoughts. It was uncomfortable, almost unbearable, but slowly, memories came back. The kid who used to draw for hours in his notebook, creating worlds no one ever saw. The teenager who loved writing but never shared it because it wasn't cool. The young man who dreamed of traveling but stayed put because it felt safer. Those parts of me weren't gone. They were waiting. And I realized I had a choice. Keep burying them until I disappeared completely, or start letting them breathe again. I started small. I bought a sketchbook. My hands felt clumsy at first, but the act of drawing lit something in me I hadn't felt in years. I started writing again, messy sentences, half-formed thoughts, but they were mine. I even took a trip alone, just a short one, to a nearby town. For the first time in forever, I made choices not because they would please others, but because they mattered to me. It wasn't easy. In fact, It was terrifying. The more I allowed myself to be real, the more I feared rejection. And yes, some people did pull away. Some friends didn't understand why I seemed different, why I didn't laugh at the same jokes or agree just to keep the peace anymore. But others leaned closer. They noticed the spark in me, the one I had buried for so long, and they welcomed it. The more honest I was, the more I realized that acceptance isn't about everyone loving you, it's about finding the ones who love you as you are. The real test came when I finally sat down with my father. He had always wanted a version of me I could never be, and I had carried the weight of his disappointment like a stone in my chest. My hand shook as I told him the truth that I couldn't keep pretending to be the son he wanted, that I had to start living for myself. His face hardened at first, and for a moment I thought I'd lost him forever. But then something shifted. He sighed, looked at me, and said quietly, "I just wanted you to be happy. I didn't know you weren't." It wasn't a full blessing, but it was a crack in the wall between us. A start. The more I lived as myself, the lighter I felt. Not because life became easier, it didn't, but because for the first time, I wasn't carrying the weight of a lie. I wasn't erasing myself to fit someone else's mold. I was here, imperfect and messy, but real. And that was enough. I wish I could tell you that accepting yourself is a one-time choice, a neat transformation. It's not. It's a daily practice. Some days, the old voice still whispers, telling me I should hide, that I'm not enough. But I've learned to answer back now, to remind myself that the real me, the quiet, awkward, passionate, flawed me is worth being seen. That every time I choose honesty over masks, I give myself a chance to breathe. If there's one thing I know now, it's this. Life is too short to spend it pretending. You can lose years, even decades, trying to be what the world expects. But the only life worth living is the one that belongs to you. And maybe not everyone will accept it. Maybe some will walk away. But the ones who stay, the ones who see you and love you as you are, they make it worth everything. I am no longer afraid of my own reflection. I still see the scars, the mistakes, the fears, but I also see strength I didn't know I had. I see a man who stopped running, who finally stood still long enough to find himself again. And I know now, without question, that the greatest freedom in this world is the freedom to be exactly who you are.